Let me talk to you. George here, Catholic Positive Energy. Great to see everybody. I would like to, really talk about some very inspiring things. One thing I highly recommend is, you see, I have a Magnificat. I subscribe to the Magnificat. If you go to magnificat.com, this has daily Mass readings, morning and evening prayer for every day of the year. But they do it on a month-by-month basis. This is the March edition. And I've actually been going through some difficult things recently. And, I almost was going to do a Goodsaid Vibes, upload a video last night. But, some things happened. But, I was just reading the evening prayer for this evening, Friday, March 27th. And I got to tell you, because it's been a while since I've subscribed to the Magnificat. I did years ago when I was younger, and of course now, with the advancements in technology, they also have an app, by the way, so even if you don't want to read a physical copy, you can get the app and read the daily Mass readings and do your morning and evening prayers every day of the year through there if you're on the go. Even when I was younger and I was really unhappy about some very difficult things that were going on in my life, I remember I had the Magnificat, and even when I would read it, and I read it every single day, because that's the beauty of this, there's Bible verses in here about some very important topics, not just the daily Mass readings, but also in your morning and evening prayer, meditation of the day. And here are some things that just... And like I said, I always feel this way when I read the Magnificat. Here's something I want to recommend. If you're someone who's down in the dumps and you're overwhelmed by some sadness, whatever it may be, the Magnificat will certainly... There will be some beautiful things here that are going to jump out from the pages and really get your attention. Here's something. This whole page right here. Suffering can become a source of salvation when faith and hope allow the sufferers to participate in the mystery of the cross. But it can also give sufferers an excuse to abandon God because God appears to have abandoned them. Now, God doesn't abandon anyone. There are times when we may feel like God has abandoned us, but God never abandons us. Here on this earth, there are good and bad. We have to take the good and the bad and the ugly. I've never seen that movie, but that's just a famous saying that a lot of us tend to say. So, and here's another, some other beautiful things that just jumped out at me. Here's a reading from the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Consider it all joy, my brothers, when you encounter various trials, for you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance be perfect, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. And finally, there's another verse here relating to suffering. This is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 13. But rejoice to the extent that you share in the sufferings of Christ, so that when his glory is revealed, you may also rejoice exultantly. Now, like I said, I've been going through some difficult times. I don't live a problem-free life. And whenever I read the Magnificat, I'm often reminded, because I do see a lot of things that I can easily relate to. And I often feel, and I can always feel this, that this is where I really feel God talking to me when I'm reading the Magnificat. Because whether you're going through some sad things, or maybe you're really, really happy, or maybe you're kind of in the middle. Like, you're not devastated, but you're a little bit unhappy, and you're somewhere between level 1 and level 10 happiness. But you're unhappy because of some other thing going on that's striking some nerves in you. the Magnificat is something that will bring healing into your life and help ease your suffering. It's something that will help you with find the beginning of a healing process. And like I say, I don't live a problem-free life, and for any of my really close friends out there who know me really well, you know what's going on. I don't want to get into the whole story here. But like I say, if you want to find healing, and especially, I want this to be your takeaway. If you're someone watching this video right now and you're someone who's really devastated, listen up. Or even if you're someone who's not totally devastated but you're a little unhappy, I want you to listen to this. The Magnificat will help you find healing. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it will help the beginning stages. It's like putting a Band-Aid on an injury you have on your body. You know, you're not cured once you put that Band-Aid on, but that's the beginning. That's the beginning of healing. That's the beginning of you being put at ease. And that's what I feel right now. Like I said, I was a little, unhappy a little earlier because of some things that have happened recently, but now I feel like I just put the Band-Aid on those things, and now I can finally start moving forward, getting past the past, putting it in the rearview mirror. Because like I say, some things get us off balance, and the evil one is constantly trying to attack us. This is a very important tool for all, Catholic Christians to find that healing and to move forward and to feel better. So, like I say, life is tough. It's not always easy to, feel the positive energy and to be happy all the time. But things happen. And one thing we should always remember is that God loves us deeply, unconditionally. And we shouldn't always depend on a significant other, a spouse, or members of our family, people we're close to, for happiness all the time. Because I've learned a long time ago, and I wish somebody would have made this perfectly crystal clear to me when I was a younger, teenager. Don't always depend on certain people in this world, even if it's your parents, siblings, and anybody of that nature in those categories I've mentioned. Don't just depend on those people to make you happy, because there may be times when some of these people, for whatever reason, you might have a falling out. Maybe you're not talking anymore, or maybe some of them might have departed this world, or maybe you depart this world and then you're not with them anymore. So that's why we need to always be aware. And I'm not telling you not to love your family or your significant others, or that's not what I'm telling you. I'm saying don't depend solely on these human beings to make you happy, because nothing lasts forever, and tomorrow doesn't always happen. That's why we need to try to live in the present and not always live in the future. You certainly don't want to live in the past. That's very unhealthy, and I've learned that the hard way. If you live in the past, and let's say these things aren't happening anymore, or these people are no longer a part of your life, or you're just replaying some trauma that somebody caused on you years ago, not a great way to live. So don't just depend on human beings to make you happy, because there will be times when human beings will fail you, regardless of what their relation is to you. We need to try to make sure that we are put at ease and that we are not always dependent on others to make us happy or to put that smile on our face. That's the point I'm trying to make. Even if these people are no longer a part of our lives and they're not maybe they're not a part of this world anymore, I don't want anybody to, fall apart and say, oh, my life is over, I don't have a future, I'm going to be devastated for the next couple of years. I don't want you to feel that way. That's why I'm saying this right now. So hopefully you never feel that way, even if these things may happen. But hopefully they don't happen. But like I say, that's out of my control. That's out of everybody's control. More on that later. But like I say, in this season of Lent, there are times when some of us may experience suffering. It's not an uncommon, unnatural thing. And, I obviously don't have a whole lot of things that I still want, but, I'm trying to keep trucking along, trying to always remember positive energy. At least that's the movement that I've started here. And it's always nice when we can find ways to help us. And like I've been learning a lot, and I've been, still studying apologetics, is something I was learning from, one of these amazing apologists, one of the senior apologists from Catholic Answers, Jimmy Akin, great guy. There is, I was studying on the, I'm also studying on the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics. Jimmy Akin was mentioning this. Okay, if you look in Romans 8:18, okay, the human author who wrote that was St. Paul, but under the inspiration of God, when he wrote that, he says that the sufferings of this world do not compare or amount to the glory that we will find in heaven with God when our lifetimes here on earth are over. The sufferings of this life do not compare at all with the glory that we will find in heaven with God. So regardless of what kind of awful things we may be going through professionally, personally, spiritually, anywhere, these bad things do not compare with the glory that is to be revealed to us in heaven. Even if you feel like you're walking through a minefield, and I hope none of you feel that way, but even if you do, I'm not going to look down on you. I'm not here to judge anybody. And there have been times I have felt that way too. So you look, I'm in the foxhole with you. All right. I don't want you to feel like, oh, George is filled with positive energy. His happiness is light years beyond ours. No, it's not. I mean, I've got problems too. So, but these sufferings do not compare with the glory that we will have with God in heaven in the next life. And that is always something that we should look forward to. Even if, we get our arms or our legs blown off, or, something really devastates us. Maybe we lose someone very close to us, or maybe we had a falling out with members of our family, and it's really, devastating to go through, this present time. Or maybe you feel like you're all alone, and, everyone you cared about is not a part of your life anymore for whatever reason. It can be very hard to bear, trust me. But all of these awful things that I've mentioned, these sufferings, do not compare with the glory that we will experience in heaven, as it says in Romans 8:18. Always remember these things. And just because we are suffering doesn't mean that bad things are going to be happening all the time. God can, and he does, bring good out of suffering. Prime example, if you read the book of Job, it's not Job, it's Job, J-O-B, in the Old Testament, the book of Job. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the story. Job was a very wealthy man who had a wife and kids, and he lost his wife and kids. They all died in some awful accident that was out of his control. But Job remained faithful to God, and eventually, many years later, God gave Job even more than what he had before. He had more riches, he got remarried, and he had a wife and kids, and so many descendants. Similar to Abraham in the book of Genesis, where his descendants would number the stars in the sky or the sand on the seashore. So just because we're going through suffering doesn't mean that that's going to be our lives forever. And when I was younger, I thought that. I thought, bad things seem to happen to me all the time. I think this is going to happen for the rest of my life. And I was very unhappy during that time. My life was a wreck, but this was, years ago. So God can make it all better. It's just we don't know when God is going to make it better. We want it to be now. But the sufferings of this present time do not compare with the glory that is to be revealed to us. And God does bring good out of suffering. He does. Job is the biggest example. It's been a while since I've read the book of Job. Wouldn't be such a bad thing. Yeah, I don't think I'll do an entire broadcast on reading the book of Job. I've noticed there are a lot of people who don't like to watch really, really long YouTube videos. I mean, they like shorter ones, and I've noticed that when I upload some of the shorts videos here, ones that are 3 minutes or less, those tend to get a lot of views as opposed to one that's 30 minutes or more. Unless you have a really huge following. So it's lemonade, by the way. Yeah. So these are some very important things and ways that I would like to try to help those of you find healing for those of you who may be going through suffering. But yes, Magnificat. I like to call this a very valuable piece of first aid for suffering. It won't cure it, but it'll help you start that healing process. Great story for the Goodsaid vibes. And please always remember that you're a child of God and that dignification is better than criticism. Live life to the fullest.